Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining with us. I've got Bo Henderson, CEO of Rich Life Advisors, on the show with me today. Bo, welcome to the show.
Hey, Michael, I'm excited to be here.
Glad you're here. All right, you've got a new book out. Tell me about it.
So the book is called The Rich Life, 10 Investments for True Wealth. And after 16 years of working with clients on the more tactical aspects of financial planning, what I realized was there's a lot of other investments that we need to make to have a successful retirement, successful future too. And we get into a lot of those investments in the 10 Investments for True Wealth. And I really tried to make it almost a book / workbook. So we're not only teaching some good ideas or principles, we're actually giving some exercises to implement them. And my goal is that you don't just have a financial plan, is that you walk away with a life plan. Then we create a financial plan to help you move towards that plan that you really want for your life. So that's what the 10 Investments for True Wealth book is really all about. And we have it right now just for the cost of shipping. So for $7.95 shipping, you can get that book and the workbook at richlifebook.com.
Great. What about the new model for financial planning?
Well, the idea, what I realized is I was taught, coming up in the industry, I was taught to do the very tactical, do the math of the money. And while that's crucial and that's important to get that right, people follow the plan that maybe neighbor said they should do, their parents said they should follow, or the advice and it wasn't specific enough to that individual. And here's one thing I know when dealing with helping people with money is it's different with every single individual what you should do. Meaning we've got to get crystal clear, and that's really the first step of this new model is before we even look at the money, let's get crystal clear on what you want your life to look like, or what that life that I call your rich life, your definition of a rich life, that life that absolutely lights you up. And then let's see if we can't create a plan to move you towards that. And when I started working with people in that way, I saw it starting to really work.
How do you raise your financial IQ?
Well, one of the biggest things we can do to raise your financial IQ, it's kind of a funny story. It's kind of sad in a way too. A couple years ago, we did a survey of 1,000 people that came through the office, and we found that only 1 out of 20, or 5% of people, actually knew where they stood. They knew their numbers. And what I mean by that, Michael, is they knew their actual expenses. They knew their actual income. They knew where their accounts were. They knew their actual debt. And what I found is that if I can get an individual or a couple to actually get a clear snapshot of their numbers, one, they're relieved that they know what the situation is, even if it's not exactly what they want. And then two, they realize they can create a plan to move towards something else. So raising your financial IQ for a lot of people is just getting clear on your numbers and then not being afraid to talk about money.
That's true. Now you've got some tips for finances and retirement you want to bring up.
Well, the biggest thing with retirement, we go back to that piece, is that retirement, one of the biggest mistakes that happens in this traditional model or role of retirement is that we work for, say, 30, 40 years, and then say at 62, 65, 66, typically, we retire, and then we're in retirement. And it's like that one day of us stopping work defines the difference between working life and retirement life. And the reality is that if we're not working on that for 5 to 10 years in between, transitioning from your working life to your retirement life, it can cause a lot of problems, not just financially being able to put yourself in the best position to avoid things like catastrophic market losses or things like that. I've had a lot of people, Michael, and this just happened last week. I was talking with a Delta pilot here in Atlanta, and he was telling me the story of, hey, when I used to walk down the terminal as a pilot, and the crowd would almost part ways out of respect for me and my uniform and what I did. And he said, when I retired, that went away all of a sudden. He dealt with depression, isolation, and those are the things people don't really talk about. So the model that I really want people to work on is that transition planning that nobody talks about. They talk about accumulating money while you're working. They talk about distributing money while you're retired. But I think all the important work is done in that transition planning to make sure you're retiring financially in the right spot, but also transitioning into retirement that you're not going to be surprised or have some of these unforeseen things that, alcoholism, divorce, depression, all those things happen. But what we see in the media, right, we see the picture of the beautiful couple on the yacht with their hair blowing in the wind, and that's just not always the reality.
That's right. Now, you have some keys to success with money and success with your life, not just your money, that you want to bring out today.
Well, if we talk about success with money in life, I think what it backs into and where that whole brand of the rich life or that whole concept a decade ago came into be is that I think a lot of us have this, we're sold this idea that if I have enough things, I have enough stuff, I have enough money, then life's going to be good. I'm going to be happy. So the keys to success with money in life is I realized some of the investments we need to make sure we're making are things like investments in our physical health, because there's nothing worse than retiring from work and then spending all your money trying to pay to get your health back and not being able to go enjoy life anymore. So investing in our health as we go. Another one that comes up a lot, we used to do workshops, and I would ask people, you had a terminal illness and you had a year to live, what did you do with that time? And across the board, Michael, it was, I would spend time with the people that mean the most to me, whether it's kids, spouses, grandkids. So that's another thing. Are we investing intentionally in those relationships that are most important to us?
Right.
Making time for those people, your health. And then another one I found that's really important, the success with life, is thinking about what really gives your life meaning. Are you investing in meaningful things and meaningful experiences? Because that's one thing. Many of the older clients I've worked with over the years told me their memories and the experiences they created, and a lot of times it's with the people they cared about the most, were the things that they wouldn't trade all the money in the world for. So I think making sure we're intentionally creating investments in those other areas of life that truly make it fulfilling and truly make people happy, and then create the money plan to support that. And I have to be careful here, because sometimes you hear people talking about a more holistic message, and they're saying, hey, you can be fulfilled and happy, or you can be successful with money. But my message is it doesn't have to be either or. It could be both and. Why don't we have both? I'd love for you to have all the money in the world in the bank that you need to do all the things you want to accomplish and live the life you want to live. And I do believe that's possible.
Well put. Bo, thanks for being a guest on today's show.
Hey, thanks so much. I had a blast.
Me too. All right, you've been watching CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.